Hi, my name is Roxanne Samuel, and my topic today is domestic violence against women and the ways that social media can bring about awareness. Domestic violence is a big social issue, which is one of the main causes of injuries to women. The domestic violence situation can have a great impact on the family as well as the community. There are several interventions that can assist women and other victims of domestic violence, which is the primary one is law enforcement interventions. However, these types of interventions vary from state to state, and for some women, it's a relief, and for others, it remains a struggle in trying to get assistance and services. Um, the definition of domestic violence is a pattern of abuse by one partner inflicting emotional, sexual, and physical violence towards another. Threats of abuse can involve both men and women, and victims can be same sex partners. Domestic violence history started way back, I can even say back in the days of slavery. However, back then it was not considered or termed domestic violence. It was more considered part of maybe roles, gender roles, and of the likes. And those things, women were subservient to men. And basically, the women stayed in the home. They had to obey their husbands, and that was how they termed it, um, as being okay and not part of a domestic violence situation. Um, as we continue to progress in society as time goes on, it was back in the 1960s in which the first movement, battered women movement, was created in order to bring awareness to the inappropriate behaviors that women were being faced with by their spouses or significant others. In 1972, the first domestic violence shelter was opened in the United States. And then I believe not up until, but up and around 2007, we had about 1900 services and programs available for women suffering from domestic violence or victims of domestic violence. There are some signs of domestic violence that you know people need to be aware of. Although physical abuse is not something that starts on the onset of a relationship, um, it does progress and it does get worse over time. Some of the signs of abuse is name calling, insults, telling a person when and where to go, who to be with, isolating them away from their families and friends, um, having control over their money, putting them down, and to the point where the abuse gets worse, and it gets to a point where then the batterer becomes more physically aggressive towards the victim, choking, hitting, kicking, and beating, and to the point sometimes where it gets to the extreme where they end up killing their victims at times. Um, there has been about 30% of women who've experienced some form of physical and or sexual violence from their partners, and about 38% of women who were murdered by their intimate partners. So the statistics is alarming that so many women are being physically and violently affected by someone who they care for and they love, and they're dying from this. I recently had a friend who was murdered 2 months ago by the police. Actually arrested her ex-boyfriend in relation to her death. So it just shows how senseless this act is, and it's something that's preventable. So that we need to be able to bring more awareness. We need to be able to change the laws, um, because domestic violence is really affecting the family and the community. A lot of the children who witness uh, domestic violence are basically growing up with a lot of emotional scars, a lot of behavioral and cognitive issues as a result of it. There are about 3.3 million children who witness physical and verbal abuse of a parent as a result of domestic violence. Um, as we go on to domestic violence laws, President Obama had actually recently signed into law the Violence Against Women's Act, due to the increase in violence against women as a result of domestic violence. And in this law, each state is responsible for handling their own domestic violence affairs. And this, as a result of this, it makes it very difficult for some women to get the services that they need, and it also makes it difficult for the um, the country to be able to get a good number of statistics on the battered women and battered spouses or battered victims, because the police department oftentimes classifies certain incidents, maybe such as a drunken brawl, as a domestic violence situation. If it's between, two men, they may classify it as domestic violence. So how things are classified also has an impact on the awareness that's given to it and the amount of services that is received. Um, let's see. The other thing that's impactful for domestic violence victims, in regards to the law, is that domestic violence is considered a misdemeanor. And if these laws were changed to classify domestic violence more of a felony, especially when there's physical injuries involved, then we may be able to begin to start changing, batters' outlook on what they feel they should do and what is appropriate for them to do. Um, when laws are stricter, it may, have a preventive measure. It may have the batterer think twice. Right now, police officers are reluctant to arrest anyone for a domestic violence situation because the laws are not strong enough to keep them in jail. And, that requires a lot of paperwork on the officer's part. And it's like you're doing all this paperwork and the batterer is being released in a few hours. Um, let's see. And in regards to technology and how technology is affecting domestic violence and social work in general, it is making it easier for us to be able to have access to educate the public, educate victims, create safety plans with them. By putting information on YouTube, Facebook, advertising, advocating all of our issues and concerns in regards to issues such as domestic violence. We can use Twitter. We could use Instagram. We could use any mode of communication, including the regular face-to-face. But technology just give us an additional avenue. And I think that we need to begin to embrace this and also begin to get more educated in regards to the confidentiality and the privacy laws surrounding the use of such technologies, as well as also getting the social work licensure to be universal so that we're not faced with any issues of jurisdiction or overstepping our licensure because we're not licensed to practice in one state, but our client may have moved to another state without informing us. And then we're providing treatment while the client is in a different state. So we need to really fine tune and work those things out. Um, let's see. When we also look at some other technologies, the use of smartphones is helpful, especially with a domestic violence person who is a little savvy and can be able to delete certain things where, in case they have to go back to the batterer or they live with the batterer, they're not able to track and trace. Same thing as with the computers. Let's see. So technology has made the social work profession, or can make the social work profession a little bit easier by providing easier access. It can help us provide information to a large number of people at once. Communication. The only other issue is the communication via email or fax. Is that it's not as secure because we're not having a visual face to face as on Skype or any sort of video program. But we need to ensure that the information that's being transmitted is not being intercepted by the wrong person, or that we are aware of who we're sending that information to. The other thing in regards to social work profession, we need to provide informed consents. And we need to let our clients know the pros and the cons, the benefits, you know, of, say for instance, something such as a group, letting them know that the social worker is bound by confidentiality, but not all the members. So those are things that we would need to discuss with our clients. And then the other thing that we also need to know is that when we're advocating for our clients and others, social media, internet is a great platform. We can do a lot of advertising there, and that would be wonderful to get that information out. But we can also still have dual treatment in which we can still meet with our patients or clients face to face. Ethically, we are bound to follow, the guidelines of NASW, and not, and always put the client first and not put ourselves. And some social workers want to be rich and make money. We have to also understand that we have to put our clients' best interest ahead of ours. Let's see. Um, and the other thing is that the technology as it is now, it's evolving, and it's evolving at a rapid pace. Um, Social workers are in line. We're getting to have telehealth, in which we're having treatment over the internet. Um, Families and patients are receptive. Clients are receptive to it. It is a way of ensuring that a client will come because there's no transportation issues. There aren't very long waiting lists. It's more accessible. It's cheaper. It may also help save money for some clients instead of having them to come out and take the bus or the train. So there's a lot of benefits to technology. And also, I believe the only significant consideration is just the privacy and confidentiality issues, as well as the licensure jurisdiction issue that we need to address. All other things, and we can also still continue to use face-to-face therapies in addition to technology. Maybe you might have a video conference once a month or once a week, and face-to-face once a week. So it's definitely something to continue to learn and to utilize in our services and our treatment programs and so forth. So I learned a lot during this class, and I just want to thank Dr. Torito and my classmates for all the information that I've learned. It was a very helpful class for my own professional and personal growth, and I hope I answered everything in the rubrics. Thank you. Have a good one. Have a happy holiday, and hope to have another class with you again, Dr. Torito.